Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, namaste, konnichiwa, ciao, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you today? It's Ken at 10, here once more for your viewing and listening pleasure. Hope you're having a good day today. If you haven't been here before and you're wondering what on earth is going on, I'm Ken, it's 10. We broadcast every day for that reason at that time. We're estate agents based in Southwest London, Southwest 16 to be precise, and we sell, let and manage many hundreds of properties and talk about the property market and what's going on. And as you can see behind me, this is the big thing, isn't it? 56 days. 56 days to go before the first of the stamp duty deadlines, which I don't envisage will be moved. Many people are saying, will they extend it once more? I don't think they will this time. I thought they would last time, and we called it early last time. And this time, my guess is that this is going to be a hard and fast deadline. So we expect that come the end of June, June 30th, that will be it. And if you're thinking of selling, or if you're in the middle of selling, or if you're in the middle of selling, depending on who you are, who you're with, there's still a good chance that you can get the deal through. If you're just starting out and thinking of selling to make the deadline, it probably won't happen for you, frankly, based on averages, and those averages increasing with the pressure that the industry's under, particularly with solicitors and mortgage lenders having so much pressure that they can't cope with the level of transactions, that it's unlikely that you can make it in there unless you're a cash buyer and in a position to really move quickly with a freehold purchase, small chain maybe, or chain ready. You've got a chance, but that clock is ticking, and it's ticking fast. And, you know, blink and 56 days is gone. If you imagine the standard procedure is you put your property on the market, and let's say within the first 2 weeks you get an offer, and then on from that, 8 to 12 weeks is the standard time for agreeing a sale and it going through. And that's before we talk about the pandemic, people working from home, which has definitely slowed down many firms. Whatever they say, you know, you call, you get diverted, you get a mobile, and you're speaking to a solicitor, but they're also with their dog and their children in the lounge and can't quite find that paperwork. It quite often happens, and it's quite a weird one. Very strange, but we've been in strange times, haven't we? But it's great to see it's coming to an end. I really do feel like confidence is returning. I've said many times, the vaccine rollout's been great. Podcast this week was great as well. Really enjoyed speaking with Mike Day. He's such an industry stalwart and a great mine of information, and it was great speaking to him. I've just put a premiere out on YouTube. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, that's coming on today. The video version of our podcast is coming on today at midday. And if you're on Facebook, then you can see the post below this if you want to see that chat. And we talk about all sorts of things, including what the property market's going to do. Is it a good time for first-time buyers? What about interest rates? And all sorts of other things. So if you're interested in that, do click and have a look. I hope you enjoy. Now on to today's property news. So 56 days to go, and what are the papers saying? Well, the Daily Mail, Zoopla research, they picked up on some Zoopla research, which shows where demand for family homes is greatest. And they've shown that Braintree, Monmouthshire and Knowsley are the most popular areas in this category. And Graham Gilmore comments, the search for space among homeowners in the wake of several lockdowns has made family houses highly desirable in the market. Zoopla says 3-bedroom homes are now the most coveted type of property in Britain today. That's because they're the most practical, isn't it, really, for most families. Meanwhile, overall low property stock levels remain a key issue in many parts of the country. The total number of homes to buy is 30% lower at the start of this month than at the same point from 2017 to 2019. That's quite significant, isn't it? The Times is reporting on new homes and the premium to be paid for buying a new home. On average, a new home buyer will pay £63,000 more to buy in a new home. And this is from property analyst 20CI. They found that people will pay an average of £316,000 across the UK compared to £253,000 for an equivalent resale property, a premium of about 25%. In the northeast of England, the average premium was the highest at 62%. Paula Higgins, chief exec of the Homeowners Alliance, warned that a new house depreciated the minute you turn the key in the door. Even in a rising property market, you may not get your money back if you have to sell within a year or two. Well, we'd echo that, and I've said for a long time, new homes are lovely, you know, and there's something about, you know, some of these new home developers. My sister's recently moved into one, and there's a big bow on the outside of the front door, a bottle of champagne, and it all felt very special and very new. But there's a premium to be paid, and it's a little bit like buying a new car. Expect to pay a premium, but it is brand new, will give you good energy efficiency. But if you're looking to move in the short term, may not be the wisest move because you may not get back what you put in. A shortage of homeowners is forcing sellers to pull out of property deals. And this is an interesting one. It's in Cornwall. We're talking about Cornwall. We've talked about Cornwall a lot. Why? Because Cornwall and Devon are where all the property searches are happening. It's been the peak market in the UK. The peak market in the UK usually being London. At the moment, it's Devon and Cornwall, and it's one of the hottest markets in the UK. And the Times and Telegraph report that this is stalling as vendors are pulling out of deals or delaying moving. And that's because the number of properties for sale in the county was down by more than 37% in the first 3 months of 2021, compared with the long-term average, according to Zoopla. Local agents say some buyers had lost out on a property because the sellers could not find anywhere to buy. Meanwhile, Knight Frank notes the imbalance between supply and demand in the southwest has been a driving force behind the price increases in the country, particularly in the prime rural market. Well, we know that that's been hugely inflated by the stamp duty deadlines, don't we? Best and worst returns on property value. I know you'd be interested in this one. This is an ONS house price index finding. Home retail website Home Edit used the ONS house price index to find the average price increase in UK property value for every local authority in the UK and compared it with the UK's average increase in property. The best place to live for a return on house value in London is Newham. Over the past 5 years, Newham's house price have increased by an average of 30.3%, and that's 6.8% above the UK's average increase. While the biggest increase was in Wales, Newport in Wales, while the smallest was in the City of London. I think that's to be expected, isn't it? Article on Japanese knotweed. If you don't know what Japanese knotweed is, it is the absolute plague of house selling. Once you've got knotweed, you have to go for a long-term treatment plan. It can invade your foundations, an absolute nightmare plant. And if you don't look after your gardens, you might end up with some. If you've got some, get it treated, get specialist advice. If you haven't dealt with it and you've got it in the garden there and you come to sell, it will prevent people from obtaining mortgages on your property, and you will need to seek a long-term solution with long-term warranties from a specialist provider, not just your local gardener. So interesting, there's an article here all about that. And they're saying that there's a hotspot map which has been released by Environet, and they specialize in combating and eradicating. And they say the worst affected areas in the UK are Bolton, St Helens, Blackburn, Bristol, Cardiff, Llanelli and Swansea. They estimate the plant has knocked 20 billion in total off house prices. Nick Seal of Environet stated, with the stamp duty holiday extended and lockdown restrictions beginning to ease, the property market is busier than ever, but failing to carry out the appropriate checks for knotweed can turn into an expensive mistake. If you think you've got it, Google it, look for the images on Google, and if it looks familiar, you've got a big problem and you need to deal with it quickly. It's not the end of the world, it can be dealt with, but it needs to be dealt with quickly, professionally, and not by your local gardener. So get specialist advice is our advice. Interesting article for me today on planning in the Times, the Mail and the Standard, and this is about a protest on the Ocado depot. I think this is something we're going to see more of with these huge warehouses now. You know, we're all wanting online delivery and everything else. These huge warehouses are required with massive lorry loads of stuff coming and going constantly, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And that's great if you want to click on that internet purchase, but if you're living next door, not quite so good, right? And it's interesting, pupils from Yerbury Primary School in Islington have taken part in a protest outside the High Court in London, opposing the building of an Ocado depot near the school. Ocado is going to court to challenge Islington Council's decision to revoke the firm's licence to open a 24/7 distribution centre. The reason I find that interesting is because I see this as an issue of the future. More and more, I think we're going to see these big out-of-town warehouses popping up. And, you know, these quiet rural locations or previously quiet rural locations could be turned into very busy areas. So it'll be really interesting to see what goes on there in the future. But I do think it's one to watch. Mortgage applicants, this is an article from the Telegraph, should seek loans in the morning. It's an interesting one. Loan applications processed around midday and just before closing at 5 p.m. are more likely to be rejected because of decision fatigue. This is a psychological study, and this is of 30 credit officers for 26,000 loan restructuring applications at a major bank over a month. The researchers found that decisions on loan requests are cognitively demanding because officers must balance finances of the customer against the risk factors and the likelihood of repayment. So what's the message here, guys? The message is you don't want to do it around midday. You should seek that loan application first thing in the morning if you can. So that's it for today in terms of the local property, the national property news. In terms of local news, still busy, very busy as you could imagine. Lots of pressure from buyers and sellers trying to meet that deadline. Lots of anxiety around it, quite understandably so. So a lot of our job now is involving chasing and updating and trying to just keep people informed, really, because that's the big worry, isn't it? Good morning to you, Jungle. How you doing, guys? And very much the situation is at the moment that people are worried, will we meet the deadline? Will we not? Well, something that Mike said echoes with me in our podcast, and that is that if your whole purchase and reason for buying falls around the fact that you're going to save 15,000, it's probably the wrong reason. And I kind of echo that. I think, if you make the deadline, good for you. But if you're just about to tie up a sale and don't make it, then it shouldn't be the reason you're moving in the first place. I know it's a lot of money, 15,000 is a lot of money, but actually in the scheme of a house purchase, particularly here in London, with house prices averaging sort of 400,000-500,000, it's a very small percentage, and therefore shouldn't be the decision you take to move. One of the big advantages is that it's opened up the market. More people are selling, and therefore there's more property available. And that's one of the great things. And what I suspect will happen is when the deadline hits, we'll see some purchasers looking to renegotiate the price, some vendors refusing to do so, and therefore some new properties released. And that could be a great time for buyers to take advantage of that situation. So it'll be really interesting to see how that one develops. And we'll be watching it carefully and updating you as it does, as always. Apart from that, here in Southwest London, the sun is out. It's a little bit chilly, but nice to see the sunshine as always. And we do feel like the spring is at last coming. We're hopeful there's no more snow. There was some snow in Wales yesterday. Can you believe it? And it was beautiful here, apart from a bit of wind that was, of course. So hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks very much for watching today. I'll be back same time tomorrow with another update for you. 56 days to go. Hope your transaction's going well. If we can help you in any way, or you do need to sell before that deadline for a specific reason, we do have an auction coming up. We can get you sold almost guaranteed before that deadline, but you need to contact us right away. Do DM me if that's helpful to you, or if you just want some general advice in a chat. That's what we're here for. That's what we do, is help buyers and sellers. So take care of yourselves and your families. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Stay safe and well.